Welcome back to Red Band of Destiny, here for another episode of Show of the Year. We're, of course, still covering 2017's American Vandal. What's this episode called? Growing Suspicion. It's weird, this one doesn't have any innuendo to it, but I'd say all but two of the episodes have an innuendo in it. It's a bit of a weird lack of theme. You'd think you'd keep the theme going, but whatever. So this is an interesting episode. Growing Suspicion is a pretty accurate title. There's just some interesting things come up. I think the main part of this episode is that they go through the morning show 9, or all the people who had access to the room where you can delete the security footage. How they have access to delete the security footage, I'm not sure. You'd think that would be password protected, but whatever. But we get some interesting stuff. Episode starts with a call with, I guess, Dylan's cousin, who happens to be a contract lawyer. Just to get some basic legal advice. It's not very interesting. It's basically just like, well, if he goes to trial, it's a felony vandalism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the funny part is Peter chimes in. It's like, I'm Peter, the documentarian. And the lawyer's like, the what? He's like, I'm making a documentary about Dylan's case. He's like, that's a terrible idea. It's a funny way to start the episode. But I like the way they flesh out the morning show 9. 3 of them just get thrown out because they had rock solid alibis. Then they go to Krista Carlisle, who is I think she's the valid Victorian. She's the student council president, student body president. She's in a million different clubs. And she's also a very adamant protester. And she did some protests which angered some people, most notably Coach Rafferty. Kind of messed up one of his pep rallies by staging some protest about a Jewish holiday or something. And then he lost one of his star players in a game because of one of her stunts. And he's not really a big fan of Krista Carlisle. So she's actually got a pretty interesting backstory and motive against Rafferty, obviously. And then they talk about one girl who's just been the butt of a few jokes by Dylan, but it's like, even if she was mad about it, I don't think she was. It's a really weird way to get him framed, to set it up and get him framed just to get back at him for what was basically just him zooming in on her boobs. Like, it's stupid, it's mean, but it's not, like, get someone expelled bad. And then they cover Ming Zhang, who's an interesting character. He's basically like that one guy that everybody loves because he's the nicest guy in the world. Actually have 2 quotes I took from that little exchange with him. And he's talking to Dylan, and Dylan had just been saying, he's an exchange student. He's very suspicious because he's a Chinese-looking kid. And he's like, you never know what they're up to. And he's like, yeah, I'm an exchange student. I'm from Toronto. It's a North American exchange student program. He's from Canada. Yeah. But the quote that I love is saying about Dylan, he's like, he's always been very nice to me, but he's still very racist. It's just like, okay, yeah, that's fair. I mean, we just saw him being racist, so yeah, I just think it's funny. But the best part is Sam's reason for why he wouldn't have done it is just, dude, it's Ming. Like, it's just like, it's Ming. Like, he wouldn't know. So that's interesting. And then we get to do Sam and Peter. Obviously, Peter doesn't do himself. He gets Sam to do it. gets a little bit mad at Sam because he doesn't take it completely seriously. But he does bring up the good point in that Peter got a really good documentary out of this. So that is motive right there. That is pretty good motive. He got a big documentary about this mystery. Though, being that you'd have to then solve the mystery, you'd have to make sure that you'd done it really well to actually be confident in that. But yeah, that is motive. And then we have Sam's motive. And Sam's motive is complex, shall we say. The crux of it is I think she's listed in the credits as transpo manager or something. Basically, she's the only one who has a car. So she's been driving them around. Is Gabby Granger, who's like his next door best friend that he definitely doesn't have a crush on. And she has a boyfriend that naturally Sam dislikes. Can't think why. And Peter's theory was that Sam created this whole elaborate thing as a way to get prom canceled because Gabby's boyfriend asked her to the prom in a really douchey way. And I mean, it was a really douchey way. He pushed her into a pool. Why I do not know what's going on in her head, but like, what? You're going to go to the prom with a guy who pushed you in a pool? What the fuck's wrong with you? What's wrong with him? But it's like, and you see, then they show the footage, and you see she's pissed, and then he's like, "You want to go to prom with me?" And she's like, "Oh," I'm like, what? No, that's not the appropriate reaction. How did we get here? Anyway, so yeah, her boyfriend, naturally dislikable, and there's this whole complicated thing about motive there, and it's like there's precedent that prom will be canceled because of a prank, and it's like, yeah, it's silly, but they were trying to make sure that they had motive for everybody, which is fair. I mean, that's due diligence. I mean, it takes a big man to stand up and say, look, I have to investigate myself, even though I know I didn't do it. The only unfortunate thing is Sam thinks Peter got a little too personal, which is fair. He did get pretty personal, and he did share some pretty private stuff. And actually, Dylan is mad about that as well. Because was that this episode? If it wasn't this episode, I forgot to talk about it. There's a bit where he had and adamantly denying that he had done a small prank on Shapiro's car, where he put on a new, the stupid license covers people have, and it's like, "I heart boobs," and he completely lied. He's like, "I didn't do it. I don't even know what our car looks like." And then they uncover like a little Instagram of him doing it and saying in the video that it's Shapiro's car. It's like literally the most damning evidence you could have of that. So yeah, not helpful for Dylan there. He's an idiot after all. But yeah, that's kind of where this episode goes. And it kind of ends with Sam going off and being a little bit irritated. Though we do get to hear rumblings of a party, which will get interesting soon. I'm not sure if it's the next episode or later, but there's going to be that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. We'll be back next week covering... what's the next episode called? Premature Theories. I feel like that's an innuendo, but I'm not sure. I moved the panda. Sorry.